All right, we got a list to make for the K-Bird because cleaning is kind of done. So let's go. So first, we're gonna need a K-Series engine. Undecided on if I'm going K20Z3 or K24A2 or A1. Want the K2, the 24A1 or A2, just because it's easier to build a Frank. Down the road, all I gotta do is get a K20Z3 head. Or if I get a Z3, just put the Z3 right in it and go. And then down the road, get a 24 block. So that's first on the list. Next on the list is going to be our two adapter plates, our AR5 to LS and our LS to K series. So if you come in my back room here, which is kind of storage and a bit of a mess, you see right where my Sharpie is, there's an AR5 sitting there. So what those adapter kits are going to allow us to do is the AR5 to LS allows us to bolt this 4L60E bell housing to the AR5, which in turn makes it compatible with the LS, and then the LS could be a manual. Then we need to get the K-Series to LS adapter plate, which allows us to bolt the AR5 with the 4L60 bell housing to the K-Series, whichever I go with. It works for K20 or K24. So, but there's a little clearance into the block we have to do to get it to work for the starter, but that's a whole nother story. So, next on the list, gonna be shave the engine bay. Shave bay. So with shaving the bay, what we're going to do is all these holes where bolts went for, like this side was the wash fluid reservoir. I'm not running a wash fluid reservoir. I'm going to hide it in the trunk somewhere, the hatch. Same with that side. There's two holes there for where the coolant reservoir was. That's my coolant overflow now. I'm going to clean it up a little bit, but that is basically useless now. Gotta fix a little bit of rust work here. As well as there's a little small spot in the rocker on the floor on the driver's side I got to get fixed. Got a buddy that's a fabricator that's going to help me out with all that and all the fab work on this car. Shave up those two holes there, make a couple for the quick disconnects for the harnesses, and we're going to go from there with the shaving the bay. Also, to go along with that is going to be paint. So we're still undecided on the color. But I am decided on the fact that it is going to be a Honda color. It's going to be a factory Honda color. I'm not sure what I want to go with yet. I got it down to 3. Championship white, taffeta yellow, or Milano red. That nice like Type R red. So basically like Type R colors. That's what it's going to be. One of the 3. Not sure yet. So that's that. Next on the list. Going to be our rear-wheel drive intake manifold. Because when you put a K-Series in a rear-wheel drive application, normally they sit this way, and your intake comes out here, and this is where your throttle body sits on the pad driver's side, because the transmission sits here. So when you turn it, in turn it's going to go this way, which means my throttle body is going to hit my firewall, which is not going to give me any airflow whatsoever. And the airflow I am going to get like that is going to be terrible because it's going to come straight from my exhaust heat and heat of the engine bay. So we got to get a rear-wheel drive intake manifold, which I'm probably going to go with the one that K-Miata makes, just because it's easy and it's smaller, and I know it's not going to have any clearance issues with any of this stuff, but just for that ease, I'm going to go with the K-Miata one. So that's that scenario done. Also, we're going to need to get a fuel rail. With that, I'm going to get a K-tuned fuel rail. K-tuned. Just because K-Tune makes a lot of good products, and they're well known in the Honda community. And I want to use some of their stuff because it does look really good. And it works great too. And there's also a lot of used stuff that pops up around me. So if I get that opportunity to get a used one that's in good condition, I will. But I'm most likely going to end up going new. So next up, we're going to need a bigger rad. Mainly because when I ran the LS and it overheated a little bit because I was using the stock small block Chev rad and with my fans, and it still had trouble handling it. So we're going to get a nice new rad that's going to work for both the LS and the K series, because if you already don't know, I am going to be swapping between the LS and the K series. So it's going to be kind of like a back and forth thing. where I'm going to use the K-Series. If I get bored of it or blows up or something happens, take the K-Series out, throw the LS back in. So then the car's still mobile. I can still enjoy it. And while it's out, I build the K-Series. When the K-Series is built, throw it back in, take the LS out, and build the LS. So that's going to be part of it. That's another whole nother video explaining how that's going to work and how I'm going to do it. So that's just an easy kind of quick explanation of it. So in the red, we're going to need some, I'm going to convert all the coolant hoses and all my other lines to AN lines, just so it's easier to convert between the two, so I'm not, changing lines and all this jazz. So we're going to go with our red hoses and our fuel lines and our power steering lines. And because I still want power steering, I don't want to get rid of it. People said, well, you don't need power steering in a race car. It's got no heat or AC. Why do you need power steering? Because I like it, and it's still, enjoyable when I'm driving. I don't have to fight it at a stoplight, or I'm turning right or left or whatever. So that's that. Next up on the list, gonna need a new fuel pressure regulator, because I can't use the Corvette fuel filter, which has the built-in regulator, which is in the car now, which sets it to 58 psi for the LS. I have to have something I can adjust, because the K-Series likes to run on 56. And some people might say, well, 2 psi isn't a lot, but it is when it comes to this stuff, because the K-Series will run really rich, so I have to change my whole fuel system again. I mean, it's already -6AN. You can kind of see the fuel line there. So it's not like a big deal. I can reuse this line on another project, so I'm not really worried about it. But I'll have to rerun it and route it so I can, it'll work with both the LS in the car and the K-Series in the car. That's the key factor. It has to work with both. That's why, it's really the whole reason I'm doing the swap, so I can kind of swap back and forth and, have some fun. So that's on the list. I'm not sure what kind of fuel pressure regulator I'm going to get yet, but I know it's got to be a nice one and adjustable. It's something that is going to work, and it's not cheap. Next up on the list, if you see my TikTok, I'm going to need a driver's fender, because it was rotting a lot around here, which is where the rest of the rust is for the floor and the rocker. It's the only spot in the car that's bad, so we got to get a new one. So that's going to be on the list. Driver's fender. So that's ties in all the bodywork stuff that needs to be done. I guess I'll write bodywork on it, because I got a lot of it to do. Gotta fix the bumper because it's got a few spider cracks in it. Front and rear bumpers. There's a few little spots that I want to touch up, like right here in the engine bay. There's a little bit of surface rust starting, so I'm gonna clean that up while we're shaving. So that's that. Next up on the list is install my front lowering springs. Lowering springs. They've been sitting on the shelf for about, 6 months. I already put them in the rear, but I just didn't do it in the front because I got lazy and it was getting close to race day at the time, and I just left it. We're going to do that, and putting the lowering springs on the list leads me to my next thing. We need some wheels, because the stock wheels are nice on these cars, but I want something different. I want an 18, just because it gives it that, it's not a stock vibe, but at the same time, I want something that's kind of era correspondent, like something that's like a muscly kind of wheel, even though it's more of an unmuscle car when I put a K-Series in it, because there's not going to be any big chop V8 noises. So we're going to go to our wheels. I already have them picked out. I'll show you those in a future video. Next on the list, so it's going to be exhaust. Also my headers. Header for K-Series, because as I said before, I'm going to keep going back to this, I'm swapping between the LS and the K-Series. I'm going to do it kind of frequently, maybe frequently 2-3 times a year. So stock, I have this 2.5 inch that was custom made for me by a local shop here. It's no good to me because it has, ports, it's for dual exhaust. So I need to do something with that. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna chop it when the Y goes into the single to go at the back, and we're gonna flange it, and then we're gonna make a whole new setup for the K series that comes from the header down the passenger side, and it's gonna go to that flange. So then all I have to do is unbolt the flange and bolt it from the manifold or the engine or whatever you want to call it, and it's basically just kind of swap that out, and you're good to go again. So that's that. I don't know what header I'm going with yet. Might have to custom make something. Probably gonna lean to K Miata a lot for this stuff because they do a lot of rear wheel drive, Honda stuff. And Miata's engine bay is a lot smaller than this because you could probably fit a whole Miata in this engine bay. So it's going to help me out a little bit with some clearance stuff, and I want it tight because I want it to look nice and neat in the engine bay. So next on the list is going to be my trans cross member, because I forgot that with the rest of the trans stuff. Cross member. So I can't use my original trans cross member because it doesn't have a mount for the torque arm, because the torque arm mounts to the transmission. It's right there. Yeah, right there. So torque arm mounts to the transmission. I can't do that with my AR5 because the torque arms came in these cars. The AR5 never did. So what I got to do is I could just use this and fab up a torque arm mount, but I don't trust myself and my welding abilities. And I also want to put a drive shaft loop in it. So I'm going to buy the one that UMI Performance makes. They're a great company, do a lot of stuff with like F-bodies and 3rd gens, 4th gens. I use their Wonder Bar on my car. It's kind of like a steering brace. Works great. Changed the whole way my car handles, and I don't really have much done to it. So I'm going to use that for the trans cross member. Like I said, because it has the torque arm mount and the drive shaft loop, and if something goes wrong, it's going to protect the underneath of the car. So we're going to use that. Along with all that stuff, I need to do tie rod ends. Tie rod ends. I already have them. I just have to put them in because they're getting a little worn, because I'm pretty sure they're original. So they got to come out, get replaced. I want to do all 4, both the inners and outers. I got new sleeves too for them, just so I know it's going to be safe in A1. Next up is, I'm going to go in more into depth of this in a future video as well, is we're going to build our our motocross member for the K series, because I want this to be removable, because where it's going to go is in this area here, which this is where your cross member is. Technically, it's going to be mid-engined. Technically. But I am building a little piece here. It's going to be unboltable and removable, because if I go to put the LS back in, that's where the oil pan sits, and the oil pan is going to hit that, so I want to be able to take that out. So, but the K series, I already put the LS back in. So, I don't even know what to call an engine. I was going to call it an engine brace. In turn with that, that's also what our motor mounts are going to bolt to, or weld to, or however I'm going to do the motor mount setup. That's going to be on my fabricator buddy. So our engine mounts. So that's that. What else is there? There's more I'm forgetting. I'm going to be right back because I got to think what else I'm missing. Yes, I remember now. We're going to go with a big brake kit. All of this is like the full list for the car. Not all of this is going to be done this winter, because I want to get it in the car, I want to get it drivable, and I want it to be, safe. But I'm going to need a big brake kit down the road because of the horsepower that I plan to do with the K series and the LS. And these stock brakes aren't going to hold it very well. So we're going to go to big brake kit. I'm going to use Wilwood with that. Brake kit. Oh, sorry. Big letters. So we're going to need the big brake kit. I'm going to use Wilwood for that because Wilwood's a great company. Do a lot of great stuff. As well as my proportioning valve. My proportioning valve going to be Wilwood. And my master cylinder is probably going to be Wilwood as well. My brake master cylinder. Same with my clutch master cylinder. Probably going to go with that as well. I have a stock one. Kind of don't want to use it. I'd rather use something that I know is going to work and I know it's going to be really good. So I'm going to do prop valve, master, clutch master. So that's that. Eventually want to do a 9-inch rear end, but that's like literally the last thing I'm doing, even though it should be the first with this car because they're garbage. There's going to be a lot of other stuff that I'm going to add over the weeks and the months of this build. But right offhand, that's pretty much it, I think. No, lies. Or seats. So right now, interior's a mess of the car because I got it half gutted. I got the brake pedal out and all that other jazz. And all my panels are kind of sitting there as well as my center console. So for the seats, I've been using the original seats for a while. And don't mind the mess. I want to get something new and updated that's going to fit the build. And I've been wanting seats for a while because they're getting a little old and a little uncomfortable. So what we're going to do is we're going to go with those energy seats. Those red ones with the little like slits for the harnesses. Probably not going to run a harness in this because, you know, straightable. I don't want to run a harness. But I want to run those seats just because they're like the go-to Honda seat. They're affordable. They're bright red and they're nice. I think the bright red seats with my all black interior is going to look really nice together and set it off. If I go with the red, probably still going to buy the seats anyways. But the energy seats. Also, little, sneak peek at what we're going to be doing here with my company, Jad Performance, Just Do Performance. These door cards, getting a little sick of them. They were the car's interior was originally gray, and I changed all that to black. And I didn't really do anything with the fabric on it. It's still kind of, peeling off, and it's a little, beat up. So what we're going to do is we're going to do some carbon fiber door cards for both the doors because, want something, looks a little better. Still going to utilize this for the door handle stuff, but all of this here is going to be carbon fiber. Like it's still going to have like the original stuff, the original look, except it's going to be carbon. It's not really a weight savings thing. It's more of a looks thing for me because, carbon just looks good. And yeah, so carbon door cards. That's on the list. It's one of the back room. So I can kind of show a little bit of more of what's going on with it here. Like I said, don't mind the mess. Open up, got a new toolbox, so cardboard, styrofoam everywhere. Rad fans. Got to get added to the list because those stock ones are not very good, and I'm going to get some nice, aftermarket ones. This is the transmission, the NR5. It's like stock drive shaft, hooks to it. That's why I'm going with this trans because it's a manual. I can use my stock drive shaft. Don't have to cut it to length or anything. Already got a new slave for it. This is the original wiring harness out of the car, so that's got to get reworked for a third time with this harness. Because I got to tuck it even better than I did before, and I'm also going to do the quick disconnects. I got a hydro e-brake sitting back here for the car, because I don't have a working e-brake. I got MSD two-step for the LS side of it, but I think I'm going to sell that, because I'm probably going to run the K-Series a lot more than the LS, and that's just something extra that I have to hook up every time I swap it. So that's probably going to go. There's not really much else. That's just the front wheels there. So yeah, tuck the harness. Tuck harness for LS and for the K series. Harness K series. I'm not gonna buy a tuck harness because I do a lot of wiring work, and don't mean to toot my own horn, but I'm pretty good at it. So we're gonna, tuck our own K harness. We're gonna make our own jumper harness to go from the original K-Series, you know, wiring harness to the K-Pro, which is next on the list. K-Pro, that's going to be one of our biggest expenses. Because, yeah, you need that to run the K-Series in the car. I'm going to run both ECUs in the car, too, for the LS and the K-Series. That's why I want it to be quick, with the quick disconnects. I keep saying what else, and there's not much more, but I keep adding because I know there's much more that I'm forgetting. So if there's anything that I'm forgetting and you see that, drop a comment below because I probably missed it. The K-Pro, the Hydro e-brake, install the clutch pedals, what else on the list? You gotta convert the rest of the lights to LED lights. I have all the bulbs, I just have to do it. But there's going to be more when the car's back up and running kind of thing to do. I don't really know what else. Yeah, that's pretty much it for now. So yeah, it's going to be a long process of a build. I'm going to post a lot of it on TikTok because, well, the shorter clips are going to be on TikTok. All the longer stuff, probably going to post here on YouTube. Like this video here. This video is probably going to be like 20 minutes long by the time I'm done with it. So, yeah, like, we got a lot of work to do. Said I cleaned the garage, but I didn't. So I got to finish cleaning this up. And then we're going to get at it. So stay tuned for first vids of actually working on the car and getting it ready. I got until the new year to get this thing ready to go to my buddy's place to get all the fab work done to it, my Bodywork, and we're probably going to fab up the rest of the stuff because he does have a K-Series as well, and if I don't have my motor in time, when that time comes, we're probably going to use his and stuff it in the bay just to kind of mock this up a little better so I can get my brace at least made, and then the motor mounts can come down the road. So, yeah, like I said, we got a lot of work to do, a lot of time, a lot of money that I don't have, but we're going to do it because I enjoy this stuff and I want to show people what I can do. Because if you can put a K-Series and a 3rd Gen F body, you can put any motor you want in anything. Because if I can do it, you can do it. Because I'm not the brightest. So, yeah, that's it. Stay tuned for everything that's going on. And, yeah, this is the K-Bird. Let's make a list.